Welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast, strategies that help entrepreneurs build reputable and profitable brands. Here's your host, Henry Kaminski Jr.
What is going on? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. I have an amazing guest today. His name is Tyler Harris from the TylerHarrisPage.com. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man? I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Dude, I was fired up for this episode now for like a week.
Yes, that's awesome.
I know we have a lot of the same peeps in our network, and I was like, why have I not had this guy on the podcast yet?
It happens so often. It's so funny. These circles get smaller and smaller and smaller, and as you kind of infiltrate them, you realize like all these people, they're so like-minded, and it's so it's almost like each conversation is like a continuation from the other conversations. So I absolutely love it, and that's definitely good company that you're in.
For sure. You know, I'm a big believer of when you surround yourself with the right people, the right things happen.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Sean Whalen, Colby Kay, Andy Frisella, you know, these guys that are in this circle is just, you know, they got a strong voice, and I resonate with it because, you know, I agree with their values. I align with them. And so anyway, I want to get down to it, man.
Yeah.
I just recently, I've actually found you from Sean Whalen.
Okay.
And I want to know the backstory, man, because from a branding perspective, I told you offline, you know, I've been doing this over a decade now. And when new people pop on the scene and got the branding identity down and they got their messaging down, like it's very hard to find like straight out of the gate. And I have to commend you on that.
Thank you.
You're very dialed in, my friend.
Well, I think when it's based off of truth, I think that helps. when it wasn't, you know, a group of people sitting in a room together saying, all right, let's take this thing online and let's go make a bunch of money with it. How are we going to brand it? There's a big difference between that and just basically living out my story, happens to be now online versus privately, and just letting the story kind of become the brand.
Yeah. So what is that? I want to dive in now. Take me from the beginning.
Yeah. So, I mean, 3.5 years ago, I just found myself in a pretty terrible spot. I was broke. I was depressed. I was in debt. I was out of shape. I had recently gone through a pretty bad divorce. I had gone through an extremely bad, very abrupt termination from a job that I was excelling in, and just found myself in really, you name it, I was going through it. And it was during that time that some mentors came into my life. You can use the word personal responsibility. You can use the phrase taking ownership. I've used a lot of those interchangeably, but I just got to this point in my life where I realized that everything that had happened for me, not to me, all these things that I had done, they were all my fault. They were all my fault. And I got a lot of pushback from that in the beginning when I started telling my story, because things like, you know, a wife having an affair. Oh man, that's not your fault. I'm like, yeah, it is. If I had been the absolute best husband on this planet, created the best environment in our home, would it have still happened? Maybe, but probably not. The termination from the job, it was something that was completely just out of left field and what I would perceive as out of my control, but it was my fault. It was my fault that I let it happen. It was my fault that I put myself in a position that enabled that termination to take place. And so that was all my fault. And what I was doing for about 2 years that I'll never be able to get back, by the way, is I was just playing the victim. And I was just sitting back completely content with, hey, look at all these things that happened to me. And my wife did this and my employer did this, and, you know, wanting everybody to feel sorry for me. And was just in a bad place. And so finally, when I took that personal responsibility and just owned it, and the ultimate encouragement from that was that if I got myself into that situation, I could get myself out of it. And that was right about the time that these mentors came into my life, saw more in me than I saw myself. My confidence was just at an all-time low. I had a fear of going all in again, in that it would be taken away from me. And so I had been bouncing around from sales job to sales job, really just being a worthless employee, quite frankly, and just not putting in full effort and not trying, and using that as the excuse when it didn't work out. Oh, well, of course I got fired from that job. I wasn't trying. Like if I would have tried, I would have crushed it. And using that as a crutch. And so finally taking ownership, taking personal responsibility. I call it waging war on personal change is what I did, and just dove deep into kind of this journey through self-awareness, this self-development, and just breathing life back into myself. Got involved with a business at that time with these mentors, and just put my head down and literally worked my way out of the situation that I was in.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How do you think you got in that situation? Because I have a very similar backstory, my friend. Unfortunately, I haven't got to a divorce or any of that. But I mean, I came out when I first started my business. I came out with a very arrogant attitude, with a very like, I'm the shit. Nobody can touch me. Nobody can hold me down. Yeah. You can't tell me anything. That came from getting fast money, like getting a whole bunch of money quick. Mm-hmm. And it sort of exposed. I didn't even know who I was at 23, 24 when I first started the business, right? So when I got that cash, it really exposed who I really was. Mm-hmm. And so it took me 5-6 years, right? I don't even know how my wife stayed with me through that. Honest to God.
Sure.
So I want to take a step back for a second and ask you, like, how'd you get in that situation? Like, where was your mindset then?
To be honest, you just said it. Like, that was a lot of it. I mean, making 6 figures my first year out of college, and just thought I was the king of the world. Became arrogant, just kind of a jerk. Nothing that looking back, like really, really stands out as far as like a story, but it was just this general idea of being invincible. When I started having these thoughts and questions, I remember talking to my dad one time and saying that, like, things can't go this well forever. like everything just kind of fell into place. Graduated from school in May, got married in June, started work in July, was crushing it in what I was doing. And I was like, something's going to happen. It can't be this good for this long. And it's so funny looking back now. I mean, I'm so grateful for those things that happened. I'm so grateful for even the divorce. I'm grateful for determination, because it developed me into who I am today. And I look back on that, and honestly, I want to figure out a way to be able to have people go through struggles and obstacles as quickly and as early as humanly possible. We keep talking about this all the time around here. We're like, man, if we could create a course where we're just going to destroy your life in like 90 days and just like get it out of the way, because it's going to happen. Like, you're going to have these bad things. And man, I would much rather go through them at 25 than 55, the 30 years of just chaos that would ensue from doing the latter. And so really, I think everyone's going to go through those obstacles. It's just how you rise up from them, and how those that do, it's almost a direct correlation into like how bad it was into how incredible it becomes. It's almost like direct. Like, I remember interviewing a guy on a podcast, and, grew up on the streets. His mom was a prostitute and a drug addict when she had him. And he was in jail 18 times before his 18th birthday. And then, like, his story now is just incredible. And that's my thing. Like, my favorite quote in the world is, every successful person has a painful story. Mm-hmm. And the part that I always add to that is, will your painful story have a successful ending? And that's the important part, because that's the people that I want to reach. I want to reach the people that were just like me. And that's why I'm doing all this stuff now. Is over the last 3.5 years, my life has taken has completely transformed. And it's just my way of paying that forward for that very fragile time period when those mentors came into my life and breathed life back into me, breathed confidence back into me. And that's when everything changed. To be that for somebody else is my ultimate goal. To be that one little message that someone heard at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday that created that small pivot that enabled them to go down a path that ultimately helped them to succeed. Like, that's what gets me up every day and fired up. And that's what we're trying to do through all this craziness on social media.
Yeah, it's funny. I heard you say this. Yeah, I heard you say this a couple times, and I pay attention because I'm a very detail oriented guy as a designer and brander. I pay attention to these details. And one thing I notice you say a lot is I'm trying to. And I just want to just get this out here because this is bugging me. You're not trying, dude. You are doing it. Like I just want to get that off my chest.
Sure.
because
I appreciate that.
It's just doing it.
You get in this mindset. Every day I wake up and it's ups and downs, but almost every day I wake up and I just think about all the things that we should be doing and all the things that we could be doing in all these different areas. I mean, there's always so much more that can be done. And that's why right now we're going all in on this thing, because I just know this next 3-5 years represents the largest land grab in not only attention, but in what that attention will then lead to, which is impact for us. And I just know that. And so we're just trying so hard to go all in and get every element of this message out there and get it out in a way that people can receive the best, that it never really like we're executing 100%, but it feels like we're trying a million different things. I think that's where that probably comes in, but I appreciate that.
No, it's cool. I mean, I like what Andy Frisella said on your podcast interview with him. He said, listen, man, I'm just a normal guy who wrote a whole bunch of shit down that he wanted to do and did it.
Yep.
Just straight up did it. And I feel like that's all you need to, I mean, it sounds so simple, but like I come to this office every day with 3 or 4 tasks that must be done. And I set that up the night before and I roll with it the next day. And it's like horse blinders on and go. And as long as you and your team chip away at this, which you guys are, that's it's going to happen. It's not if, but when. And having that mentality is key.
Absolutely. And I love that Andy talks about it that way. And that's why Andy is one of the biggest influences in my life, because he keeps it real. Like he talks about the fact that he's been doing this for 17 years. He talks about the fact that the first 7 years he made no money, like not a single month where they made over like $700 or $800 in a month for like 7 years. And I look at that and I think, holy cow, I don't know if I would ever be able to push through that type of adversity. But those are the messages that people need to hear. They don't need to hear this, hey, get rich in 6 months with my system. Just let me plug you into this funnel and just email you every day with things to buy, and then you'll be successful. They need to hear the true stories of people that just went out and just worked hard for a long period of time and chipped away and made it work. That's the message that I love, because with me, just like Andy said, like there's nothing special. There's nothing special other than the ability to work really, 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 really hard. But I love the word extraordinary. It's my favorite word in the English language. And that when you break it down, it's just ordinary. It's just doing those simple things that we all know to do, those regular, average, normal things. But the extra is just doing more, like doing more than anybody you know, more than you've ever done before, more than your competition. And that, to me, is the ultimate encouragement, because it means that I don't have to come out here today and invent some new way of doing something that's never been done, revolutionary, all that. I just got to go do what I know I'm supposed to do and do more of it than everybody else. And for me, that's like the easiest game plan for success, but it's the realest too.
Yeah, no. And I have the same mindset, believe it or not. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, listen, I'm not going to revolutionize the branding game. I'm just not. I don't. That's not what I want to do anyway. I don't want to come up with like another ClickFunnels or another software or something like that. That's just not where, because that to me is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's not something that I want to focus my skill set on or anything like that. However, I can outwork anybody in this game. And I will continue just to do the day in and day out stuff that I love to do, like 5 podcasts a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing strategy calls with my clients, you know, and having them allow me to put that out there, and just showcase how the clarity starts to come in, you know, and how people start to get that focus. Because that was today's Instagram post, right? With the elephant, with the disaster all around him. It was, you know, eventually you're going to get there, but you're going to destroy everything around you trying to get it. You know, why not find someone that could help me, help you get to where you want to be without all of that, and a hell of a lot faster. And I think you're doing a hell of a job with your podcasts and just your online presence of getting that clarity out there. And so, you know, I want to ask you, who's the target audience? Who's that ideal client that you truly want to help so they can start to get this message and start making a difference and get you into their life?
Yeah, I mean, from day one, I saw this gap, and the numbers are somewhat arbitrary in more of the idea of this gap. But if you just take someone from, let's just call it 75,000 in income to 250,000, somewhere in there, obviously it's a huge gap. But if that person wants to go and get motivated, inspired, or just learn something online, they've really got 2 people that they can do that from. One is the multimillionaire who has a lifestyle and an infrastructure built around them that's unrelatable to that individual. And then the second is the person that's faking as though they're that. And there was this gap in the middle where I just found so few people that were really living out their actual lives, being completely transparent and authentic, and showing people what it actually takes to become successful. And so that's really why I started doing what I'm doing, is to knowing that this transformation that happened to me over the last 3.5 years, at that time, 2.5 years, knowing that the biggest mistake that I ever made was not documenting from day one. And that the next biggest would be not starting at that point. But being in this income level where I was at, and wanting to be able to remain relatable to everyone, but especially that demographic that I had really identified as a gap, so that as I do level up and level up and level up and level up and get to the point where I shouldn't be relatable anymore, I will be, because hopefully the idea is to bring those people along with me. But at the very least, I'll remain relatable because they will have watched me get there. And they will have watched the good, the bad, the ugly in the process of getting there, and the struggles. And I mean, some of the best content we've had are days where things didn't go right, where I'm on Facebook Live at 1 a.m, you know, up like emotional because I'm about to walk into my hotel for the 11th night in a row away from my family. Like those moments where you're being just extremely raw have been some of the best content. It's been some of the most uncomfortable moments for me, but have been the most impactful comments for other people to see that, like, hey, this isn't easy. Hey, this is difficult. It's going to take intensity and it's going to take sacrifice. Like, we talk about all these things and just really want to let people know that, number one, anyone can do it, but it's going to take an intense amount of work in a long period of time. And nothing happens easy. Nothing significant will ever come easy. And so we like to debunk different things that pop up in here that seem like these get rich quick and easy ways to make some fast money, and that none of that stuff will last. Like, these are basic pillars of success, basic pillars of just general business that will never go away. And we just want to be an example of that, of what living that out looks like. And we don't monetize anything. You know, we don't sell anything. Like that's for me, that's kind of the magic sauce, is I can tell someone not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear, which is the truth, because I'm not concerned about their ROI and what they're paying me to tell them, because they're not paying me anything. So I can tell them, hey, I understand what you're saying, but here's the issue, and bam, just tell them, and not be concerned with the fact that they might get upset with hearing the truth because they're not paying me anything to hear it.
And even if they are paying you, I think people really start to register, right? Like when they start to pay. I mean, that's just my belief. Like anything that I've gotten from any sort of free advice I've gotten, back in the day, I should say, I never executed on. I kind of just, I always make this analogy. Like I'm a shoe guy. I like shoes. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, you got better shoes than I do. So I say, if I lost a pair of my sneakers that somebody gave me that, I wear around the house and mow the lawn with, oh well. But if I lost a pair of sneakers that, cost a few bucks, I'm going to be really pissed off at first, right? I'll get over it eventually. But I mean, I like to use that analogy because, you put your tears behind that, that cash that bought you those shoes. Right. So
absolutely,
I think that people should pay attention, when they pay and if you consider the source valuable and they're giving this information away to you, like you are, like really pay attention to it. We do have a question on Facebook Live that I want to hammer out and get over to you. Chris McIntosh says, got a quick question. The initial marketing study leading up to a marketing campaign, what would be an average time scale for that?
There's so many variables,
right?
That would lead to a decision there. But I think every single case is going to be different, and I think it all has to do with what your intended result is. To me, if I'm looking at that. But what's the old, what is it, Abe Lincoln that had the quote about if you want to chop down a tree, spend the first however many hours sharpening the axe, right? Like that is important. One thing I will say in regards to that, though, is I'm very big on this concept, and it's so funny, I just said big on this concept. This concept has become very important. This fast is the new big. Fast is the new big. Fast is the new big. Like I love that mindset, and that's the mindset we've created here with our company, is that ideas are nothing. Like they're a dime a dozen. Everyone's got ideas, but those that can execute quickly are the ones that are winning. And this internet is like it's like the great equalizer. Like I can go execute on an idea today that a Fortune 100 company couldn't execute on, because I can get it done quickly and just bam, 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 and just start executing, where they would take months and months of meetings and research and all that. And so for me, not probably much less market research and studying goes behind different types of campaigns, just because we want to get it out there and just test it. Right. I think there's a lot to be said with just putting it out there and testing and then adjusting accordingly.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer of that. I could share my experience with that as well. I developed a monthly subscription program way before the Design Pickles and all those companies started, and it was a hit, right? It was a hit, and I had about 30 clients come in on that program in a week. Wow. And what happened was I didn't have the infrastructure to sustain it and actually deliver. So it was a nightmare. It was a disaster. I lost 80% of those folks, kept 10, which was fine. But then over the past 2 years, I really refined it to what the Designs on Demand program is today. And now it's just like so clean and everything is sort of outlined. We have the infrastructure. There's like a 16-man team behind Unique Designz. It's not just me, right? Yeah. So it's like we have the team now to execute. So you're going to have to test. You're going to have to get out there and just do and see what happens. I think, in my opinion, is just get out there, do it, see the reaction, and if you're getting a great reaction and you're feeling the press. Like you're feeling the full court press from the market that's telling you, listen, we want this. Like we want more. that's the time you scale. Like
Absolutely.
I knew my clients wanted this, but I wasn't ready to scale. And then my mentors were like, dude, you got to replace yourself, get that team in place, figure out that process, make it happen. Like, and I had to do, it took me a lot of time and a lot of money, you know, to figure all that out.
But even with what you said, like, by just going out and doing it, and then getting caught in that situation, which wasn't pleasant, it wasn't comfortable, I'm sure, when all of a sudden you're like, crap, I got all this demand, I can't fulfill it all. But even then, that would be better than the person that sat on the idea forever and didn't know that there was this huge demand. Like, it would be very different in putting it out there and getting zero response. Okay, great. You still put it out there and now you know. Like, yours had the opposite response, which was, it's like the best problem ever to have, right? Like, you've got too much demand. It's like, that's the best. But I think there's so many people that never put it out there to even find out one way or the other. They just sit on it and they plan on it and they talk about it and they meet on it and they discuss with their coaches and they discuss with their mentors and they never actually put it out there. And you can get as simple as just with a Facebook ad. Just take it as simple as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So many of the ads or the posts that we're promoting, I'll just run like 10 of them because I never know what's actually going to work. The ones that I know without a doubt, like, this is going to crush, this is going to go viral, this is going to be the best video we've ever done, will just do terrible. And then the one that we spent no time on, didn't even really think about it, that one will just explode. And so I'm very big on just putting out some budget on a bunch of different things and then waiting about 72 hours and then cutting what didn't work and scaling what did. And so I think there's a lot to be said for just letting the market dictate your actions and just getting its stuff out there to let the market have the opportunity to dictate.
Yeah. I mean, I think Gary Vaynerchuk says it best, like, the market will determine what it is that you sell. Mm-hmm. And if you could put that in front, if you could get that message right and articulate it in a way where they understand it, they get it, they know they need it, they're seeking for it. You know, one of the biggest things that epiphany I had this year was people weren't coming to me to get the killer design work. They were coming to me to get the damn clarity and the focus and that message and voice right. And I kept hammering them. I was hammering them last year, like, design. And like, people are like, I get that, but that's not my issue right now. If I'm designing the wrong stuff because I'm not clear and focused, then your design work isn't going to help me, is it? So, whoa, was that an eye opener to me? And now my big focus is, because brand is the feeling that you get when you interact with a business or a person like yourself, a personal brand or a business. And if that feeling isn't warm and fuzzy or whatever you want it to be, you know, that's where the disconnect is. And no design work is going to solve that for you.
That's true.
Getting that right for me was like a huge boom for me. Yeah. So as you talk, I'm going to ask a question. And as you talk, I'm going to share screen. And actually, for those folks that are going to be seeing this on YouTube, I want to take them through the Tyler Harris brand.
Okay.
And so I want you to describe, because you got a couple different podcasts going on. Yep. Can you take me through like each one and just a brief synopsis of what each one like hammers home?
Sure. So I've got my personal Facebook page that we run everything through, which is at Tyler Harris Page. Same thing with Instagram, at Tyler Harris Page. So the first podcast we started last year is called the Sales Wolves Podcast. And it is video and audio. So it's on YouTube and it's on iTunes. And that is with my business partner, Joseph Caldwell. And it's a full length, hour-long interview that we do, or episodes that we do that really gets tactical on the sales side, but we do it for two reasons. Number one, it's for support and appreciation for salespeople from the very get-go. Like, if you don't think you're in sales, you're wrong. We're all in sales. We're either selling ourselves to do something or we're selling ourselves to others at all times. And so we know that sales is a lonely road, and that's why we created the Sales Wolves podcast, was just to show support and appreciation, but actually some tactical advice that salespeople can use and implement. And from there, we've got like 60 something episodes now. So pretty much one a week. They come out on Sales Wolves Wednesday, which is funny to even say out loud. But Sales Wolves Wednesdays is when those come out. I've been doing those for about a year. Then we started this daily vlog last January. So this year just started. And I think tonight's episode will be episode 70. And we do those on 5 days a week on a 24-hour turnaround. So I've got a full-time videographer that travels with me 24/7, creating, sometimes 3, 4, upwards of 10 to 12 hours of footage throughout the day. And then coming and taking that and editing it within 24 hours into a 10, 15-minute vlog episode. So very similar to like a daily V type style. But it's just that. It's giving people the real look at what it looks like to be successful. It's going in and out of my meetings with me all day. I sell life insurance. And that's what I love, is the fact that I sell life insurance. No one's passionate about selling life insurance. Nobody. If they tell you they are, they're lying. But what it affords me the ability to go do is what I'm so passionate about. And that's that's a whole nother topic that we can discuss later. But it just shows what that grind and what that hustle looks like, and what working 16, 18-hour days looks like. We just recently took the daily vlog and put it on iTunes, and so that is called the Daily. It's called the Daily Bread Flavor in Your Ear.
I love it.
It's basically like the audio experience of the Daily Bread vlog. We've got the Breadwinner podcast, which we started about 2 months ago, I guess. 2.5 months ago. As you mentioned, the first guest was Andy Frisella, which was awesome. We've had just a number of incredible guests. I recorded 2 this past weekend in LA that were unbelievable. But man, we've had some guests, great ones. Like you said, Sean Whalen, like Ryan Mickler from the Order of Man. Just a bunch of really, really good people. And some friends of mine had been on that one. And that one's a little shorter. In the very beginning, I tried to make it as a 15-minute podcast. I wanted people to be able to log on, get in, get out, get a good message. And what I quickly realized is it's pretty much impossible to have a meaningful relationship or a conversation with anyone in 15 minutes. So they've gotten longer now, but those are on iTunes. We also upload them to YouTube as well. And we feature a lot of that content on the vlog. So we'll take, the best minute or two, from those recordings like this. I'm recording this on 3 different cameras right now. So we'll include some of this, some of the elements of this in the vlog. I also have a motivational brand called Motivation Kings. It's just your typical motivational meme type content. But I'm telling you, that stuff, it's so funny. Like, that stuff is just an engagement machine.
I know.
I've got over 900,000 likes on Facebook. We're encroaching on 1 million likes on Facebook. And I've had weeks last year where just from that page alone, the weekly reach was over 49 million on that page. Awesome. I've got videos, just motivational little, I say little crappy videos, but not like great work, just like, mashed up video content with speeches overlaid that have 200,000 shares, like just crazy stuff. But we've got that on Instagram and Facebook, and we've got some more content coming out with that. But my main focus right now, number one, is to remain focused on what brings the revenue in, which is actually selling life insurance policies. So I'm part owner of the insurance company now, but I sell every single day. And I'm on the road 3 to 4 nights a week doing that. And it's keeping that focus of what actually generates revenue in order to be able to do all this other stuff. And so that's very important for me. And because of that, I use a lot of this social media as an accountability tool, with setting goals on the front end of the week and recapping each day and recapping at the end of the week where the goals ended up. That is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can use or that I can give to other people, especially people that are in sales that have this concept of wanting to build a personal brand or wanting to start at least putting themselves out there online, but don't know where to start and don't want it to distract from what's most important, which is actually how they make a living, is to use it in ways that will benefit what they're already doing. So I would literally get on there. I built all of my social media presence last year basically through Facebook Live.
Okay.
I loved the live environment because you can only fake it for so long. Like, people are going to actually get to know you. And I didn't like how Instagram, it went away. Well, first there wasn't any, then it went away. Now it's there for 24 hours. So I loved Facebook because it stayed there forever. Looking back, I wish I would have put a little bit more emphasis on Instagram when I was going so hard on Facebook, but now we're catching up. But with Facebook Live, I would get on there on Sunday night as I'm headed down. I'll usually travel. I live in South Carolina. I travel in Georgia every week. So I'm driving down to Georgia, and Sunday night, Monday morning, I'd get on there and say, hey, I've got a goal to sell 75 insurance policies in 4 days this week. Day one, I'd get on there throughout the day. At the end of the day, I'd say, hey, day one's done. Ended up with 17 today, so I'm behind. Day two, recap throughout the day. At the end of day two, I'd say, hey, sold 34 today. So actually now we're at 51. We're right on track, actually a little bit ahead. Day three, day four. And by day four coming around, like, people are actually sending me messages. This is the craziest thing. They're sending me messages like, hey, man, good luck today. I know you got 4 meetings today and you got to sell 19. Like, hope you get it. Like, this whole law of attraction thing just becoming this gigantic focus on the number 75. So I'm sitting there saying 75 policies, goal 75 policies. People are like, where are you at in your goal towards 75 policies? And at the end of each week, lo and behold, I'd count them up and I'd be like right at 75, 76, like right around that exact number. So it kept me focused, but it created incredible content with other people because they're like watching me chase these goals. And honestly, I had someone the other day that literally said that they felt as though they played a role in me hitting my goal that week because they had, and they did. Like, I don't take that lightly at all. Like, they had sent me a message that last morning and was just like, been thinking about you this week. Hope you crush your goal today. And literally send me that message after they heard that I had hit the goal, as though they felt somewhat responsible for helping me hit that goal, which I believe they were. Like, I believe that. And so that was the coolest thing for me is being able to stay focused on the goals and what brings in revenue each week, but also document it so that other people can now join in on what we're doing. So it's a huge piece of advice for people that don't know where to start and do have jobs where, performance and production is required on a weekly basis. That you can't just, take a week off to do, podcasts and interviews and create content all week. Like, you got to produce.
Right.
I think so many people are in that kind of in between place.
Yeah. I think one thing that you said that I want to back up 1,000% is people are so afraid of what other people think. And I think that stops them tremendously from starting, because they're saying to themselves, well, what if I do a live and nobody shows up? What if I do, what if I do this and that happens? And I'm saying this is all in your damn head, number one, and you just got to get out there and do. So it was funny. Me and my wife we spent the weekend in New York City. We don't live far, but we like to get in there and stay over. Yeah. We had our, my brother and sister-in-law took the baby for the night. So we were like, we're partying.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So, but I documented the whole day. Right. Yep. And and it was funny because a couple of people DM'd me on Instagram. Were like, dude, we feel like we're with you. Like, we feel like we're actually with you. And I go, that's the whole point of the story. I'm constantly grinding in this office. It feels good to get out and just show that I do have a life other than this office, and I did that very purposely. And, people want to know that you're a human being, and they'll find the connection. You just need to get out there and do what you do, and don't be sugarcoating shit. Don't be just, this is my life. And I love that you're doing this. And I love that you're getting the the engagement from the audience and that push. I mean, that's not a coincidence at all. It's not a coincidence at all. And I believe everything happens. I mean, we're sitting on this podcast together for a reason. And we gotta take that and run with it and know that we only have a finite time here on this planet. And what do you want to do with it? Like that's my question, right? I use
that exact phrase like weekly. I talk about that, and it's so funny because I always use that word finite, but it's true. I mean, we are put on this earth for a finite period of time, and I am of the belief that we're supposed to leave it better than we found it. And I mean, I think back to those 2 years that I just sat around playing the victim and was content with just being lazy and just kind of just living. And I know that those are 2 years that I can't get back. Those are 2 years that I could have been working towards what we're doing now, and how much further will we be. And so that's, that fear of regret is real, and is a real driver in our everyday. But what you just said is so important. And I think, especially with like Instagram stories, I think it's becoming so huge for people to really get insight into your actual daily life. People connect with that stuff more than I don't ever scroll through Instagram anymore. I just look at stories. And I think that's what the majority of people are doing right now, because that gives you a little bit more insight into that actual person's life. And that's what's important. People, that whole real, recognize real, like people want to get to know other people and feel like they have a actual relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen anything like these Instagram stories and Facebook Live where you can do that. I mean, you could name off 20 people right now that you feel like or have a relationship with, or you would even call your mentor that you've never even met in person. Like, I've got tons of them. It just sounds ridiculous. Like, people always ask me, they're like, how do I find a mentor? How do I find a mentor? I'm like, turn on go to YouTube and just start watching, and lo and behold, they will become your best friend and your mentor. And for me, like, I travel so much, and I'm on the road, and it's mostly driving travel, about 3.5 hours away, and just far enough not to be able to come back at night. And I spend so much time on the road that, like, that's all I consumed. All I consumed was podcasts, YouTube series, audiobooks for years. And these people, like, I felt like I knew them. Like, I felt like when I met Gary Vaynerchuk for the first time, I consumed so much of his content that I felt like we had inside jokes, like I felt like we were talking about stuff going on in the comments of Ask Gary V shows, and everyone sitting around was just like, what are these people talking about? It's just, you get to where, but you can learn so much without having to meet someone. Like, people that are putting their content out there, it's absolutely incredible. There's
Listen, the difference between us and them is that we have the balls to do it, and they don't. And I want to just say that. And people always ask me, well, how am I going to differentiate myself from my competition? Well, get your ass out there and do it. And that immediately differentiates you from them, because they're not doing it. Right. And so get out there and do it. And there was another thing I wanted to say. I think it just hit my mind, though, if it comes back to
that's the big thing too. You talked about just doing it, like getting on a Facebook Live and there being no people on there. Like, that still happens. Like, I mean, it's just part of it. Like, you can't think that you're going to somehow, especially in the beginning, that you're going to somehow start putting your message out there and people are going to just automatically just be drawn to it. It takes time. It's no different than building a business when you're building a personal brand. And I can tell you, it's lonely. It's difficult. You talk about, like, not caring what other people think, and it's a big thing that Gary always says, but you're always going to care what other people think. Like, you always do. It's just not letting those thoughts control your actions and just continuing to do what you do. But, like, every one of my friends and family, like, no one got it. Like they all made fun of me. They all were just like, what is this person doing? Like my own wife, the first few posts was like mortified. Like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just need you to trust me. You may want to unfollow me, but I need you to trust me for like 6 months while I try to do this thing and see what happens. And as these life-changing messages started coming through, man, I would screenshot them and I would send them to her, screenshot them and show them to her that weekend. And it very quickly, she understood, what we were really, really doing. But I think that's the biggest encouragement for people is as they're getting started and putting themselves out there to understand that, like, of course no one's going to get on your Facebook Live. Like my mom and my wife were like the first people on my Facebook Lives, like every time in the beginning. and even they were getting on it just so that they would have some ammunition to make fun of me later. Like, it's just like the way, like I can remember like it was yesterday. I was sitting in a parking garage downtown Atlanta across the street from the gym at Georgia Tech. When I did my first Facebook Live, you hit go at 3, 2, 1, you're live. And it's just terrified, like absolutely terrified. And it was terrible, but it's still up there. And I've had, I did over 400 Facebook Lives last year. And majority of them were not that much better, but people started getting on them and people started resonating with the message that was coming out. And it enabled me to grow a big following from doing so. And I think if the intent is right from the beginning, if the intent is right, then none of that other stuff matters. Like it doesn't matter that there's no one on your Facebook Live if you're not putting it out there specifically for those people that don't want to get on it in the beginning. Like you're putting out your message for a certain person to hear, and those people will find it. I assure you.
Amen. And I want to. I remember what I wanted to say, but I want to just back up what you just said here. Gary Vaynerchuk said something last week. I was watching some of his stuff. I take him in doses, and he said, "Your audience knows what's for them and what's for you. You're not gonna trick them." And I was like, "That's killer. That is killer advice." Because a lot of people are out there putting out content that they think that the audience wants to hear, although it's making them sound and look a bit foolish because they themselves don't even believe it, which that drives me up the wall. And I could see that. And inauthentic people, the minute they come into your 3 foot of space, like I have that sixth sense. I know a phony baloney when I see one, right? So the other thing that to round this comment out, when I had Sean Whalen on the podcast, months ago, he said, there's only one thing in the freaking world that people want. This is just one major thing. And he said, it's the truth.
I was just about to say truth. Yeah.
And man, that was the fire under my ass to get out there on a more consistent basis and just share that truth.
He is so right with that. Like the way he said it on my podcast, every time I share it with other people, I get chills. Like I asked him, I said, what's one thing you quit doing that enabled you to succeed? He said, lying. And I said, about what? And he said, everything. Mm-hmm. And like, I just literally, like, if you could see my arm right now, I just got chills like saying that because it's so true, especially as men. We walk around, and Sean's the best one to talk about this. Like we walk around and it's just like, hey man, how are you? Great. Hey, how are you? Good, man. No complaints. But meanwhile, they're cheating on their wife. Their kids hate them. Their business is failing, and they're not great. Right. But we put on this facade, especially on social media. Social media is just like a magnifying lens on that, like putting up this front as though our world is perfect and we have nothing going on that's negative and that we're just, happy as can be. And the reality is these people have their heads barely above water. And it's so important. And so exactly what you're saying, like, I mean, talking, and that's what Sean does. I mean, Sean talks about everything that no one wants to talk about. I mean, sex, money, religion, politics. I mean, you name it, he's going to talk about it. And that's why his tribe is so unbelievably solid and connected and would do anything for him because he's never gone out there and pretended to be anybody that he wasn't.
And if there's anybody out there, for those folks that are watching and listening, like biggest takeaway is to follow in the footsteps of people that are doing what it is that you're doing, that you want to do, that are doing it now, right? And success leaves clues. I say it 1,000 times, but success leaves clues. And then there's people that are just a few chapters ahead of you. And if you just follow them and watch them and begin to model, don't copy, but model and make it your own, right? That's going to take you, they're going to bring you with them, right? They're going to bring you with them. And they're going to blaze the path, and you're just going to have a little bit of a smoother road. Not that it's not going to be bumpy, but you're going to have that little smoother of a road to navigate through. And I think I, and all the people out there that are sort of on the same playing field as we are all just trucking along, right? We're all just going, and business will constantly move. Like one thing that Simon Sinek said, I was at an event, he was speaking, and he said, business will never stop, right? But so there's people constantly coming into the jet stream and leaving the jet stream. One thing that's constant is business and time. And so how long can you play? How long can you play? That's the game. And, I get chills just thinking of that. And I've just felt this little knot in my throat. But I'm 37 years old. I've been doing this for 10 and a half years. I have no inkling of when I'm ever going to feel the need or want to stop. And that scares me, right? But it also empowers the shit out of me. Oh, and it's just like...
Well, that's what everybody wants, right? Is to be able to feel that.
Yeah. And it's just, and this is what breaks my heart. And then we got to wrap this up. But what breaks my heart the most is when I watch people live their lives like it's happening to them and not because of them. And it just hurts my heart that there's nothing I can do with my business, with my voice, with my presence online, anything to help them until they, in their head, and they flip the switch in their head and they say, I want different today. Just like you, just like when you woke up and I was, and was like, I don't want to do this shit no more. Yeah. And I just think that that's a huge message. And so it all starts with you guys. You have to make the change. Tyler's going to help you. I'm going to help you. Your mentors and guidance will help you. But unless you take the first step, unless you pick up your hand and make that handshake or push that buy button or whatever you need to do, you will stay where you are. And I'm very black and white. If you're not growing, you're dying. So, I got to do things every day that makes me feel like I made an impact. I made a difference today. And this podcast today was that for me. And I got another one coming up in an hour, which I'm super excited for. So that's what you got to find. And you just got to do. I mean, you've heard Tyler and I say it now for an hour. Take what we're saying and do it.
And I think so many people have the mentality that I had in the very beginning, and what probably kept me from getting started and putting myself out there for probably a year was this "who am I" mentality. Who am I? And I'm sure you've had it. Like we all get it. Like who am I to get on this podcast right now and talk about these things when I'm still going through struggles? And that's why I think transparency is so big. And I always laugh when I say, everybody talks about transparency and wants transparency until it comes time for themselves to be transparent. Think how that works. But that's the biggest thing I want people to understand is that you and I are no different than the person that's on the other side of this camera. We're just on the camera. But we are you. We're just going through it publicly, which is strange at times, but like this "who am I" love how Ryan Mickler at the Meltdown in the Desert event last year, he told everyone, he told the audience, he said, someone out there is waiting for you to put your message out there in the way that only you can. And like when you talked about like, kind of modeling after those that have done it before you, and it's not copying, like it's not copying, because I can take something word for word that Gary Vaynerchuk said yesterday, but through the context of me and my life and my situation, what I'm going through, it is a completely different message. Mm-hmm. So someone that heard Gary say it yesterday, but then heard me say it today through my lens, would receive it completely differently. And Ryan stood there on stage and he said, like, someone is waiting for you. Like, they're waiting for you right now. They need you to put that message out there because your voice is the only way that they will be able to receive it, and it'll actually move them to do something. Yeah. And so that who am I, it is debilitating at times. But you just have to get over it. Like, I got
a funny story. You give me chills. Yeah. You give me chills because half the shit you said today, that happened to me. Okay. Yeah. So we're like kindred spirits, believe it or not. Yeah. Now that I got a chance to really get to know you, I tell you a funny story because I had that same shit happening to me. I said, who am I? Who do I think I am? That's what I used to say. Who do I think I am? So funny story, right? Love or hate the guy. I had a huge fascination with John Gotti growing up. So I had a huge fascination with this man. And the guy did what he did, and rest in peace, John Gotti, and he died in jail because of it. But the guy did move a lot of people, good and bad. But so there was a documentary that I watched on him, and is actually an HBO movie. It was and Armin Asante played John Gotti. Armin Asante is just a phenomenal actor. Yeah. And so John Gotti gets pinched for something, and he's in jail. And there was one of the black guys in jail had a guy on the outside that did something, and John Gotti could make it go away, right? And basically, they had a conversation out in the courtyard, and the black guy said to John Gotti, "This is what's going on," and John was like, "Don't worry about it; it's taken care of." And the black guy goes, "Who do you think you are? You're going to be the one Dago that changes everything?" And he goes, "I'm John Gotti." Yes. And walked away. And so when people ask me, like, who do you think I am? And I ask myself, who do I think I am? I say Henry motherfucking Kaminski.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I walk and that is the end of the conversation with myself and that person. Yeah. And that person looks at me and goes, "Okay then." and that's it. And maybe I don't use the mother effing, but like that's it. And so that confidence needs to come from within. Yeah. And John had it, from day one. And that's how he overthrew that whole crime family, because he knew that he should be the one sitting in that throne, not those other guys. And he did it. And so, like, love or hate the guy, the guy was a serious personal brand, and the guy made some serious moves in his life.
But it's completely comparable to any situation. Like the stay-at-home mom that just started selling, leggings online, like they have to own who is Martha Smith. Like they got to own it just like you did. Like you have, but it only comes through action and doing that confidence will be built. That's the big thing, is like sitting back and talking about it and what you're going to do and what's going to happen. Like the only way you can ever build that confidence to be able to answer that "who are you" question is by going out and executing and actually doing the things that you keep talking about doing. Until you do that, then you're nobody. Like you're nobody. As harsh as that sounds, like it's just the truth. And so I don't know what, like those first stages, like those first few months of putting myself out there, like I don't know what it was that kept me doing it when everyone was making fun of me and nothing was really getting all that great of results. But it was just this deep-seated belief that there was a purpose behind what I was doing, that there was a reason for it. And honestly, selfishly, I just wanted the documentation because it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Like I just knew that I was going through a very interesting period of growth in my life. And I just wanted to be able to be able to document. Like the fact that, like you talk about legacy, the fact that I've got a 19-month-old daughter, the fact that she will be able to look back on that video, that Facebook Live that I did at 1 a.m, where I was in tears because I was away from her, I was away from my wife for the 11th day in a row. So I was chasing after this big goal, and that goal was only set by me. And it was like, why am I walking into this hotel room for the 10th night in a row? And for my daughter to be able to look at that, and who knows, like 10 years from now, she'll be able to put a contact lens in and probably sit passenger side next to me and be able to feel those emotions that I was going through being away from her, and to know that like the sacrifice and all the things like I like to call it spending time away for your family, not from your family. But like to know that there was so much purpose behind the time that I was gone. Like it was all for her and building up this lifestyle and building up this environment that she would then grow up in. That stuff's not going to go anywhere. Like imagine being able to watch that from your dad or from your grandfather, like to be able to watch this level of documentation. Like it's life changing.
It is.
So like I think about like my daughter and my, one day my grandson being able to like watch all this content to see like what their father or grandfather was doing every day. I mean, that type of legacy, like that type of documentation, the fact that the guy in the office next to me can be living the same life, but not documenting any of it is crazy to me. Like that is like, it's such a huge difference in the legacy that will be left behind and just the documentation of it all. Yeah. But it's not easy. And I want people to understand that it's not easy. And like when we added this daily vlog element to what we're doing, like it increased the level of hustle, like way further than I ever imagined. Like when you literally start your day knowing, okay, I've got this meeting, I'm going to do these sales, and you got all this stuff going on, and you're like, oh yeah, and by the way, I got to think about it in my mind that I'm also creating a movie today. like you literally like there also needs to be a plot, and they're also like we got to have some things that we're recording, and we got to like create some stuff, and like it's a whole nother level.
I think it makes life so much more fascinating and fun. It is. And just like being able to do that and actually being able to do that. And I love the analogy you just made with the guy next door, because it's the same thing. And that what you were so I have a 7-month-old son, and what you were saying about being able to document all of this and having him, I got a weird, creepy, one of those outer like weird experiences on Saturday. We were in the hotel room. The TV had internet TV. Mm-hmm. And I went to YouTube
and you're watching yourself.
Wait, it was crazy. I just typed in the brand and the suggestion popped up, the brand doctor, and we clicked it and it was like, blah. And I was like, oh, like,
I know,
like, so it was just like one of those moments where like, you just pinch yourself and you're like, dude, you're doing this. Yeah. And, at this point, there's no turning back. Like for me, there's no turning back. There's been so much stuff that, the first 30 years of my life, I wanted to say a lot and I never did publicly because I had my own skeletons in the closet. Mm-hmm. And then when I got that epiphany from my mindset coach at that point and Russell Brunson, when he was coaching me, like, I was just like, yeah, this is my time. It sucks that it took 36 years to 5 years at the time to figure this all out, but now it's go time. And I got another 50 years, to do it the way I want to do it now and just go and make it happen. So, dude, we went way over. This is probably the longest podcast I ever recorded, but you know what? I had a blast with you.
Yeah, man.
And real quick, for those that want to find more about you, start following you, your vlog and everything else, where can they find you?
If you just go to my Instagram page at Tyler Harris Page, in my stories, it'll swipe up to pretty much everything you can find. The daily vlog, which is the Daily Bread Vlogs on YouTube. But everything you can pretty much find on my Instagram. It's going to be on there. Instagram and Facebook. It's just at Tyler Harris Page. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. Tyler dropped a lot of bombs on you today. So if there's anything that I can tell you to do with them is make it happen. And apply some of the stuff that we chatted about today, and you will see the change. You will see that, and it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to come right away, and that is the damn truth. But the more you chip away at it, the more easier it will become, and that's when you're going to start to see everything transform for you. So again, guys, I appreciate all of you for listening and watching. If you haven't yet subscribed to the Brand Doctor podcast, go over there and subscribe. If you haven't shared it with a friend or colleague, please do that. And if you could take a quick second and maybe write a quick written review if you like what you heard, I truly appreciate that. And thank you. If it wasn't for you guys, this wouldn't exist. So have an awesome day, and I will catch you on the next episode.
You've been listening to the Brand Doctor Podcast with Henry Kaminski Jr. To get your appointment with the doctor, visit Brand Audit at www.uniquedesignz.net.